Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about homeowners associations. NAR put out a new consumer guide on homeowner associations. And as I've done with the other NAR consumer guides, I'm mainly going to read this just to make sure I cover all of the salient points and don't leave anything out. We may make a few comments along the way. This, of course, applies almost 100% to residential. There may be a few comments that I can make that would apply to commercial properties as we go through it, but we'll see. So let's jump in. All right, consumer guide for homeowners associations. In many housing markets, homeowners associations, or HOAs, and other community associations can be a part of the home buying and owning experience. Here is what prospective buyers should know. What are HOAs? HOAs are organizations in residential communities that create and enforce rules for the properties and residents within their purview. HOAs can offer residents access to shared spaces and facilities such as pools or clubhouses, and act as governing boards to help maintain these common areas. While HOAs are often associated with master planned neighborhoods or gated communities of single-family homes, community associations can also include some shared properties within individual units such as townhouses and condos. All right, so what are HOA fees and special assessments? Homeowners in HOA communities are required to pay monthly fees, sometimes paid quarterly or annually. These may be used to cover the cost of landscaping, routine maintenance, neighborhood upkeep, shared amenities and common areas, and other operational expenses, including contributing to the reserves to plan for and fund longer-term improvements or unplanned costs. HOAs may also collect special assessments for costs such as emergency maintenance needs or other major projects that reserves are unable to cover. As such, prospective homeowners should consider HOA costs when budgeting and preparing for home ownership. All right. Who runs HOAs? Most HOAs are nonprofits run by volunteer boards. Volunteering for the HOA in your neighborhood or building can provide better insight into how your HOA is run, allowing you to participate in important community decisions. HOAs have bylaws that guide how they function, including election rules, board members' responsibilities, and meeting protocols. What kinds of rules can HOAs enforce? In addition to bylaws, HOAs have covenants, conditions, and restrictions, sometimes called CC&Rs, and rules and regulations to help maintain uniformity and protect real estate prices. These can vary significantly, but may cover things such as landscaping, noise, parking, pets, home exteriors, including decorations, property modifications, and common area policies. That said, there are limitations to HOA rule enforcement. Specifically, HOAs cannot enforce rules that conflict with local, state, or federal law. Do condo associations differ from HOAs? Condos or condominiums are a type of building or complex that can have HOAs or condo associations. A key difference between single-family homes in HOA communities and condos is the ownership structure. Typically, condo buyers purchase the units they live in and an ownership interest in the building's common areas. In contrast, owners of individual properties in an HOA community own their property and lot, but common areas are owned by the HOA itself. However, exact ownership structures can vary. What are co-ops? Co-ops, or cooperative housing, are a type of shared ownership arrangement that only exist in certain states. Unlike condos, people living in a co-op own shares in the entire complex and have a property lease on a specific apartment. Interested buyers must apply and be approved by the co-op board, which is made up of other residents. What are the benefits and drawbacks of HOAs? Most prospective buyers are drawn to the amenities, enhanced security measures, and maintenance support that HOAs can offer. However, the added cost of HOA fees and special assessments can be a financial burden for some buyers, and others may be concerned about potentially restrictive regulations. Your real estate agent can help you determine if an HOA community is right for you based on your needs and preferences. Practices may vary based on state and local law. Consult your real estate professional and/or an attorney for details about state law where you are purchasing a home. Please visit facts.realtor for more information and resources. So again, I'm going to put a link to this in the description for the video. I'll also put a link to my website. So if you have any other questions, you can look it up. You can get the link and you can see. And sometimes there are other links in there. And you can reach out to me. You can either leave me a comment or you can follow the link to my website and put in a question there. But just in general, I don't know that there's a whole lot to add there. I would say that in general, if you are buying a property that has a homeowners association, and that's becoming increasingly common, I would say that, I can't say that the majority of places have that, but in a neighborhood, if it's like a planned neighborhood, it probably you should expect it has an HOA, and you should ask. That should be something that is disclosed to you when you are looking at property. Is there an HOA? What are the HOA fees? Now, the HOA fees can change. It's usually, usually the community votes on that, and if they approve it, so it can change. But you should know what they are. You also, I think it's a good idea to get a copy of the rules and regulations and all of the governing documents, just to be aware of them. You're probably not going to find too much in there, but you probably ought to read it over. One thing that about HOAs, and this kind of makes sense when you think about it. It is true that I've done an analysis on this in the past, and so homes in HOA communities, they actually tend to sell for a little bit less than homes not in HOA communities. And when I first found that out, I did several analyses to verify this, and when I first found that out, it seemed counterintuitive, because I thought, well, I would think that in the the communities with the homeowner associations, that the property values would actually be a little bit higher because of the rules and trying to make sure that everybody, is following, landscaping, appearance, and really trying to keep the appearance of the entire neighborhood better. But I think the real reason for that has to do with financing. And that is that when you are calculating the payments that you are able to afford, part of that payment is going to probably consider your homeowners association fees. Now, I'm not going to say that every bank takes that into consideration, but it might. And if that's the case, a lot of people, when they are going and they're buying a property, they are going to basically max out what they can borrow in order to do that. And so in order to be in those neighborhoods with the HOA, that'll probably include their payment, including the HOA, and they have to subtract that out. So in a way, it kind of makes sense that that's the way it works. But those are things for you to consider while you are looking at residential property. For commercial properties, some of that will apply, I would say, like especially with office condos. With an office condo, you know, you'd have a condo association. As a condo owner, you would have, generally, you know, it depends upon your condo association and the rules, but in the simplest case, you would have, every condo owner would have, say, one vote, you know, for the condo association. And it's run in a very similar way to an HOA. And they also will have common areas that are for the whole place. And so it works much the same way. The other things, you know, like in retail and industrial, that stuff is less common. There will be sometimes industrial developments, especially high-end industrial developments, that have rules and regulations for the whole development about, you know, landscaping. That one of the things that's covered, although this isn't usually an association so much as it is kind of local regulations. There may be restrictions on what you can keep outside. There might be restrictions on some landscaping and stuff like that, but a lot of times outdoor storage is a big deal, like with industrial stuff. So these things apply to those as well. It's mainly a residential thing. Of everything, maybe the condo associations for offices would be the closest thing. The other things, I can't say it never comes up, but it's not as common. And so I think that about covers it. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you like this video, found it informative, maybe you can give it a like, share it with somebody else who it might help. If you like following along on real estate topics, you might even subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have other real estate questions, you might look through my YouTube channel. I cover a whole bunch of things there. There may be a video covering something that you want to know about. And I guess we will call it a wrap. That's it for now. Have a great day. I am David McCoy with Otimo Properties based here in Louisville, Kentucky. I am licensed in Kentucky and Indiana. And I do mainly commercial, a little bit of residential investment, and international real estate. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.